Welcome to Creativo Corner, where we interview emerging artists who are doing big things. Today we have Jason with us. Jason, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Jason will be with us at our Super Bowl event in Las Vegas, and he has recently been DJing at the London Ministry of Sound, and he's here to share with us all that he's up to. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you.
So why don't we start with how you got into DJing? What inspired you? What started your journey?
Well, my journey actually started decades ago, in the 90s, not to try to age myself, but that's when I first started listening to house music. I was quite young, we'll just say that. And in the mid 90s is when I was introduced to like house music and raving and things like that, you know. So that's when I fell in love with the music. And over the decades, I've just kind of, been with the music as it's progressed into different genres. And I've always had a huge passion for it. And, clubbing and, all over the world, and Ibiza and here in London. And then DJing was kind of always something I was interested in. But I was just so busy with the 9 to 5 and other activities that I never dove into it. And then a friend of mine, who I actually introduced to the music, fell in love with it as well and started DJing and told me, it's never too late. Why don't you, take it and try it, just as a hobby. And he bought me my first set of decks for Christmas a few years ago.
Aww.
And so from that, I took the bull by the horns and went with it.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that I did. Better late than never. Initially it was just supposed to be a hobby. I just wanted to have fun and maybe play some parties with friends and stuff. But I went to the London Sound Academy to work one-on-one with a teacher. And from that, I wasn't bad, I guess you would say, being humble. And so I said, hey, I actually could do something with this. And I started doing little gigs around London and getting really good response from them. And it just kind of snowballed. And here I am now going to the Super Bowl. Kind of.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is your style like? What would you consider yourself? Open format DJ, house DJ?
My genre is mostly house. That's my background. I grew up with like Little Louis Vega and Junior Vasquez and Frankie Knuckles and all those OG house music, and then I kind of transformed into trance, with Nick Warren and Tiesto, old school Tiesto before he got too commercial. Sasha Digweed, those kind of DJs. And, I've kind of progressed into, I had a period where I was listening to deep house and tech house. And so I kind of stick to house mainly, tech house when I want to give it really good energy. Mm-hmm. Deep house, I like to start off my sets with deep house because it's a little bit slower and it's a little, kind of get the crowd started slow and easy before you just set them off. I like to throw in some old school disco. And I've kind of recently been exploring with like old school rap, like from the 80s, like Run DMC and Cool Mo D and LL Cool J and, those really old school original rappers, kind of mixing that into, modern house music. And so that, yeah, I like to play with, well, those basically are my genres that I like to play with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about I know you've been playing at London Ministry of Sound, is that right?
Yes. So I've played several gigs around London. I've done a lot of house parties and like small little they'll have little producers that are throwing their own little parties around the city, same as here in New York. But the big clubs that I've done in London were the Egg. Egg is a really big like kind of after hours nightclub. I've played there many times. I played Ministry of Sound. I played Horse and Groom. So those are kind of some of the bigger places that I played in London.
Okay, makes sense. So you got your start in London, and now you're moving back stateside to like New
Yeah.
York, and then
Yeah, so I basically I New York is home. I've lived in New York for a little over 15 years.
Mhm.
Um, but I took a little I travel a lot to Europe. Over the past 7, 8 years, I've been going to Europe often. And when I started to take up DJing, I was living in London. I went there for a year. That's why I ended up going to the London Sound Academy and getting trained more in London. So I guess that's where my career began. Even though in my head, the knowledge comes from, old school Chicago, New York type house music.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
And I've heard a lot about London being a little bit more of like a hip hop scene
It is.
versus New York being a house scene.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, New York is the house music in New York is because it went to London after. 'Cause house kind of started in Chicago, then Chicago and New York. I mean, first Chicago, then it very quickly came to New York, and then after probably almost maybe even a decade later, it went to Europe. It went to London and then Amsterdam, and then that's when it turned into techno and all these different genres. So I would say the house music they're playing in London is a little more of the old school house that they used to play here. And then the house here has kind of progressed into a different kind of house music. And then there's a lot of R&B there. Like actually some of these parties that I played with at Ministry of Sound, like they have 3 or 4 different rooms, and one room will be R&B, and one room will be rap, and one room will be heavy hardcore, and then they'll have the house room. So
Ooh,
yeah, so it's kind of eclectic because you do get a wide range of people all together under the same roof, which can be really cool, or it can be a little bit of a S show.
Okay. So when you get off your gig playing in the house room, are you like, let me go to the rap room? Hip hop room?
I like modern rap is not really my thing. I grew up like in the 80s. I loved that rap. I love the 80s and the 90s rap. I can really get into that.
Yeah.
This more modern stuff is not really my vibe, even though every once in a while a song will come out that I like, and but yeah, I like to pop around. I like to see what's what the kids are listening to, what's hip and modern, and see if maybe there's a song that I fall in love with that I can remix and put it into my style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So how would you say New York is influencing your style now that you're back here more?
Like I said, the house music has progressed here, so there's a lot of like indie house, and a lot more like I don't know if you've heard of the Burners, like people that go to Burning Man.
Yeah.
They've influenced a lot of the house music, and that's more like melodic house, and it's a little more feely, I guess you would say, instead of dancey. Like my stuff, I'm still pretty old school. I like to hit it hard. I like high BPMs. I like energy. I like people sweating on the dance floor. Where and there's still a lot of that here. But there's also other influences now. So I'm kind of exploring that a little bit more as well, to kind of find a middle ground that works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the burner community in New York is huge. And
It's humongous. Yeah.
And also all about the vibes.
Yeah, it's all about the vibes. It's all about energy. It's all, which is, I guess it's kind of always been, the music has always been about the energy. Because I remember when I used to club, like a long time ago. You went to a certain night if you knew a certain DJ, or even a certain promoter, because you knew what kind of energy that was going to bring. What kind of the people, what they were gonna, are they going to be full of, high energy and dancing, and or feeling, and so you chose your parties kind of according to the DJs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you ever go B2B with other DJs? Have you done that?
I haven't done too much of that, but funnily enough, the DJ that I told you about that got me into it, my friend, that I got him into it and then he got me into it. I guess it was an even exchange. Him and I, we do actually here in New York, we do a lot of things together.
Oh.
Next weekend we're throwing a party in Brooklyn, So him and I back to back. His name is Keita, by the way. Keita, the DJ. Yeah, he's a lot younger than me, so he kind of I take a lot of, he's more into the younger scene, and so I pick from him, things, yeah, pick and learn from him. But him and I do some B2B often,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. And like, would you say your styles are different? So that kind of like
they are. Yeah, he's a little more not down to his stuff is a little more burner. His stuff is a little more feely and slower, and can kind of get, for me at least, a little deep and heavy, like emotional, where mine is more happy, upbeat, lyrics, divas singing, and heartbeats. And so, we kind of, it's kind of fun for us to try to find that middle ground when we're, doing back to back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because we have to segue into the other one, so we have to find that meeting point, and then take it or bring it down, or I bring it up, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, at our Art Basel party like a month or so ago, I just noticed like when two DJs are going B2B, like there's such an energy between the two of them. You're like sharing the controller. It's crazy.
Yeah, it can be amazing, and it can be a train wreck if you have completely different DJs. But if not, if like with him and I, if you've worked together 2 or 3 times or more, or if you just kind of, even if you haven't never worked with the DJ, but you hear them and you're like, I feel you,
Yeah.
Then it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to play off of each other, take what they're doing, put it into your mix, vice versa. And you almost can develop a bigger sense of energy between the transitions, because, somebody else you're bouncing off of somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So another question, how do you keep the energy up and the crowd engaged during your sets? I mean, it sounds like you're automatically drawn towards those like high BPM dancey rhythms.
Yeah, and that doesn't always work, I mean, most of the time it does, but there's sometimes, a crowd is just there, it is very important to be able to read your crowd, so I always, when I'm putting together a mix, I don't just have one. I don't think any good DJ would have just a flat mix of the same style of music the whole time. Like I said, I start with some deep house, and then some house, and then if I'm feeling that they're getting into it, then I go a little more hardcore with the tech house. And as you're doing those small transitions, you can see if the crowd is responding. If they keep riding with you, then you just keep doing what you're doing. If you throw on a song and you see you're kind of losing the crowd a little bit, then you're like, okay, they're not. That was not what they're into. They're into more house, or they're into more new disco. So, you can have your backups there, so you can bring the crowd back to you. It's very important to pay. Any good DJ must pay attention to the crowd.
Yeah. How does that work with like bigger venue, smaller venue? Is it harder to read the crowd in one or the other?
Sometimes, yeah, and even sometimes the venues are really dark, so you're only seeing the few people that are right in front of you on the stage. You're not seeing the ones back there. But then all of a sudden, if you're doing something wrong, you do start seeing heads disappear. So you start seeing more of the floor. More of the floor. You don't want to see the floor. So yeah, it is by venue. I think, but there's also you can feel it. Like, you really can. You can feel if the crowd is giving you the energy. I don't know how to explain that, but maybe there's noises that they're making, but you really do. When you're on, you feel it. The crowd is giving you something. Some of the best gig, the Ministry of Sound, when I did the last time, I left as on a high, because the crowd was giving me the energy the whole time, and it was almost like I didn't even have to work anymore. Things were just happening naturally. Like, I was like, oh, they loved that, and I would just go with it, and it was like the energy took over me, and then it took over the decks, and then we all just were symbiotic. And I know it sounds real like but it's true.
Yeah. I believe you. I think it's a flow, and it's always like, I mean, a party, it's like, I mean, it's like an orchestra, right? Like, you have the people dancing, the DJ. It's like,
absolutely. So
Yeah.
it's like acting too. You know, if you're on the stage, you can feel the crowd giving you. If you're doing good job, you're getting your applause, and
Yeah. Except for their dancing as applause, right?
yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any like memorable experiences from your gigs thus far?
Oh well, I guess I did that. The one I just explained about at the Ministry of Sound. That was probably one of the most memorable, just because I really felt like after it was over for like 2 hours, I was on like a runner's high. You know, it was like I hadn't taken anything, and you know, I probably had one drink during the whole thing, and it was like I was just like, and people were coming up to me, and it was just amazing. So, you know, and then you've had funny little things where somebody gets on stage and starts dancing, and then like some venues they can do that and some they can't, you know, because there was one that they couldn't, and the security took him off, and then he came back up, and so I just went with it, and I started dancing with him, you know, in between the mixes, and yeah.
Do you like when people try to get up on stage with you? They're trying to get in the DJ booth?
You know, sometimes if I don't mind, you know, I don't mind it at all. If I'm, you know, there are times when you're not on your game, you know, and you're kind of like you're having to focus a little bit more than you sometimes do when everything is just flowing. In those kind of situations, I'm a little bit more like, get out of here, you know, or at least back up a little bit, because it's kind of interfering with your mojo and your energy. But most of the time, you know, that's kind of what it's about.
Yeah.
I don't like to feel like I'm separate from the party, because you are part of the party, and so let it all happen all around you. Yeah.
So have you seen these circle sets that was like a YouTube kind of like series where it's like big DJs like Blondish, Diplo, they'll like put them in the Antarctic or like in Bali.
Yeah.
So if you could do a circle set anywhere, like magical destination, where would you be a DJ?
Oh my goodness, what a question.
I know.
I have traveled a lot. I mean, I think Iceland would be an amazing place to do it. I've been there several times. I've got some good friends there, and I have honestly never seen nature like I've seen in Iceland. And there's some beautiful backdrops with waterfalls and glaciers, and I'm not sure if there probably has been a circle set done there, but not that off the top of my head that I can think of. But
Not with Jason.
not with Jason. I know, not with Jason. That's true. That's true. I think that would be an amazing place to do it. Like you know, because they have in the summer it's 24-hour daylight, and then in the winter it's 24-hour night. So doing that in the summer at like 1 o'clock in the morning when it's full light out, and you have your audience, I think that would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
1 a.m. circle set.
Yeah, there we go. We got it locked. That's mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you producing any tracks of your own? Have you
Okay.
dabbled?
I am, yeah. Well, I'm starting to. So
Okay.
I mean, you know, I am taking the fast route. I did just start DJing a few years ago. So, but the next step, you know, most big DJs produce their own music.
Mhm.
So I've started. I just started a few months ago. So I don't have anything yet, but
Okay.
my goal is to get something out by the summer.
Oh,
First
summer
track. So
song.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Nice, awesome, cool. Okay, any sneak peeks? Like, is it gonna be like house driven? Will it be like what were you saying? You're like bringing in some like hip hop from the 80s?
That's kind of where I'm going to go. I want to do something different, you know. So right now I'm basically just working on the bass line and kind of, you know, the basic structure of the sound. And so I haven't decided yet whether you know what I'm going to do with the vocals and the chorus. But like I said, that is kind of something I don't think a lot of people have done, if any, is to work in you know, old school rap. I don't think I've really heard that. You know, there's been some modern stuff, you know, in there, but I can't think of a LL Cool J or a Slick Rick or, you know, any of that stuff into house music yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Completely agree. I remember there was this one DJ, I think his name was Afrojack,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Yeah.
did a lot of remixes of like Stevie Wonder
Right.
and like, like really old stuff. And I never heard that before. And I think that's
Yeah.
what people really look for in a fresh new sound, like
Yeah.
something that's like obviously, that's old, but it's like made new and it's
Right.
not,
Right.
Calvin Harris, boom, 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 commercial.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I, like a lot of artists have remixed things from the disco ages, because that's kind of almost the same genre, So,
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of fun and challenging to try 80s rap.
Yeah, we've all heard enough disco by this point. 80s rap, bring it on.
Bring it back, baby. Bring it back. Let's do this. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice would you give to someone aspiring to be a DJ?
I think probably the best advice, and I'm taking this from what I've heard, is to do it for the passion of music. Don't do it for the fame or for or even just to become a big DJ. That even playing in clubs. Just do it if you really, really, truly have a passion for a certain genre or genres of music, and you just want to do it for fun. Do that. And yeah, and like kind of do like I did. Like I was not planning on doing. It was going to be a hobby because I love the music, and I just was basically going to play for myself.
Yeah.
And then it's turning into something a little bit more than that. So if you have the passion, go for it. Get your decks, start at one, and see what happens. Yeah.
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 Well, it sounds like you really have the passion. Absolutely.
I do. Well, I feel I've had it for many, 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 many years, and it's really exciting to see it kind of become something more than just in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like some of like the true enjoyment for an artist and like music falls in this genre because you're creating as a DJ, whether it's like producing or like mixing real time. It's like, other people enjoying what you've put out there.
Yeah.
You know, like having that validation. It's not everything, but it's definitely something.
It's something, and that's, I guess, going back to what I would say is that, have a don't do it, don't do it for you do want to do it for other people, but you're doing it for yourself first.
Yeah.
And if people respond and if people relate, then that's wonderful. And if they don't, so what? Just keep doing it for yourself because you're the artist, it's your music, it should be something that number one makes you feel good, and then ultimately if it does, it's obviously going to make other people feel good too.
Yeah. Cool.
But you're not gonna make everybody feel good.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So just be, don't let that bother you. Just make the people feel good that you can relate, and the other ones, they just relate to something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a daughter. Do you think your daughter will be a house fan?
I think she will, oddly enough, because every time I'm on the decks, she runs into the room and she wants to play with them, and she starts rocking out like this. And I go and I pick her up from preschool, and she has her favorite house song. It's a very old song called I can't get enough. I can't get enough.
Okay.
And we play it on our way home, and she rocks, and she's only 2, so she doesn't speak yet, but every time they hit that high note, she's hitting it with her. So she's like, ah! I'm like, you go ahead, little girl, you go ahead. So yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like she's already very musical. She loves music in general, music and dancing, so
yeah,
I think she'll be,
Oh,
she'll be my little groupie if she doesn't take me over, pass me up by the time she's 5.
You guys can go to B2B one day.
Exactly. That's my thing. When she's 4, and we're like, let's hit it, girl. All right. Yeah.
Where did you get your musical inclination? By the way, was your family musical?
My family is quite musical, actually. Yeah. So I grew up, playing the piano since I was like 5, maybe. My mom had us in piano. I played the violin. I played the trumpet. I was in choir all through junior high and high school. I was in show choir. I had an a cappella group that I created in high school, and we performed for Stars of Tomorrow. I was in theater, so I've just, music has always been a big part of my life.
Wow. So you can actually play as well as DJ. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I'm one thing at a time, but I'm going to try to. It's been a long time since I could play some piano, but when I was a kid, I played, a lot more. So I'm going to slowly start incorporating, a lot of that old knowledge into my new career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that basic understanding of how music works, right? Is just so
that's
basic.
huge. That's huge. And when I was starting to DJ, that's one thing the teachers saw right away. They're like, it's good that you have that, because you have to teach that to people, like phrasing, and there's 4 beats to a measure, and and so I had that basic knowledge. So we kind of, like, the first few classes we skipped right over those, because it was a good foundation already there.
Cool. What's your next big gig? I know you have
Super Bowl. My God. Hello. No, I'm doing. I'm doing this weekend. And then the Super Bowl, and then I'm doing a party in Miami, and then I am hoping. If we talk about big, this is what I'm working on right now. Is that there's the London Sound Academy is doing a boat party in Ibiza this summer, and the DJs that they're hiring DJs for that went to the academy, so that have to be gone through all the programs, and so I'm gonna try to get on doing that boat.
That's awesome.
A couple of times this summer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You got to bring your daughter with the headphones.
Oh, for sure. Little headphones, a little disco hat, Yeah.
I feel like that always makes a party when you see the baby with
100%. Okay. I know. I've seen that a few times, and you're just like, oh, that's so damn cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, Jason. This has been awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.